Guys, listen to this for 5 minutes, right? I want to bring some very critical information out that you all need to know worldwide.
Event 201. Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit, and it was a drill for how to handle pandemics. But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system to make sure that we get good data. What they talked about was how to turn America into a totalitarian state. How to impose censorship. In my book on Fauci, I've been able to find 22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate. Fauci and Bill Gates play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home in Seattle, $147 million home, 40 acres on Lake Washington. He sat Fauci down in his library and he said, I want to propose to you a partnership. That you and I work together to vaccinate the world. The story in my book tells exactly how they went through that. And the story of these simulations is critically important because it was the way that they prepared. They didn't just have a few people involved. They had hundreds of thousands. Cops these were all top secret. Police officers in every community in this country, healthcare workers, first responders, were all drilled in this. How to censor, how to silence, how to impose tracking and tracing, how to do control. So they all went through these drills again and again, and it was a way of drilling and practicing a coup d'etat against American democracy. All of the techniques they use, I've spent a lot of time studying the CIA because my family was in a 60-year fight with them, and I wrote a book about that battle called American Values. But I've read all of their manuals, and they have techniques for going into indigenous countries and causing chaos, shattering the societies, destroying the economy, creating social distance between people so that there's no unit cohesion. And then when everybody is demoralized and destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing, as they did with all of us, they locked down America in a hostage taking. And they impose something that is part of their technique, which is called Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors. And all of these drills were intended to impose and to induce that condition in the entire public. And I'll tell you one other thing. The CIA did a series of mind control experiments back in the 60s and 70s called MK Ultra and Project Artichoke. And one of the famous experiments was called the milligram experiment. And the milligram experiment, and you guys look it up, milligram experiment. What they did is they brought volunteers from every walk of life, college professors, construction workers, everybody. They put them in a room with a doctor in a lab coat, a figure of authority. And he would tell them, turn up the electricity and shock the person who's in the next room. That person was an actor. And they would tell him, turn it up higher, turn it up higher. It went into the death zone. 67% of the people put it into the death zone, even though many of them weren't crying at the time. They were begging the doctor not to make them do it. And what they found was that using authority, particularly doctors in white lab coats, 67% of the public will violate their own conscience and do what they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And as you read my book, you're going to see all of the direct CIA involvement, and I named the person, I named the officers, year after year that were directly involved, partnered with Bill Gates, partnered with Tony Fauci, creating these scenarios in anticipation of her.
Listen, in 1980, Bill Gates became #1 entrepreneur worldwide, the richest man in the world at the age of 24.
Welcome back,
And
to another energy medicine moment.
Excuse
I'm
me.
Dr. Darryl Wolf.
Here's something critical no one knows of. Bill Gates and Google opened up the Hive in 1984, and the Hive was running to 2012. They had top scientists from NASA with mRNA technology in graphene oxide that comes from iodine crystal in methamphetamine, ADHD medication. Hitler brought out a happy pill in 1945, and by 1978, over 80% of the population was on a happy pill, which was speed. And they deemed psilocybin to be dangerous in a massive operation, made a lot of videos about all the particular details about this and how this all went about. I know the whole story, and I have the most powerful document in the world this thick. This is literally the devil's plan. They came to Australia, set up the all-seeing eye in Pine Gap, if you want Australia, that controls all the satellite systems, radio waves, phones, and CCTV, the Hive. Edward Snowden has exposed that. You know, Julian Assange got locked up in England for exposing a lot of documents because we hacked the hub in 1997. The hub is the headquarters of NSA and CIA, and what their plan was when they disarmed Australia with the Martin Bryan Bobby plan. I've got the guns on the front page of paper handed down in 2001, 5 years later. In big black writing, these are the guns that disarmed Australia with every serial number checked out. In the Gatekeeper report in the Star Chamber inquiry, I'm #1 most wanted, took over the 2 top sons from NASA as well. The ones that came to all over Spin Australia with 5 international networks. When they deemed it really dangerous, okay, they came into Australia with 5 international networks and developed 10-ton amphetamine and sent to Amsterdam and 10-ton to Florida every month for 14 years straight. All set up by Bill Gates with a Hive on Google with top scientists from NASA that came into all over Spin Australia. A guy by the nickname of Uncle Fester, first name Steve, was leading this, okay, on the Hive, on Bill Gates' Google website in 160 countries, which was a black web that was approved by Google and the countries. The UN approved this, which means the whole UN country under the WEF was involved in all this under the UN. The Rockefellers set up the whole educational system on reverse psychology engineering, so your body cells get corruption during the daytime and can only be at nighttime. When your aura is perfectly in your body cells with genetic memory and a genetic process, from 0 to 7 you're perfect and can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7. Then you go to school to be mentally institutionalized with voices in your mind that are ultimately designed from extinction under mind control. In a barcode system where you live in 5 cents and negative fields in your mind in consciousness developed by the Rockefellers in 1640 into a conscious singularity by WF, right, by the Rockefellers for UN and NATO in an educational system. You can see that in the Royal Commission in Australia, been paying out for 23 years because kids get taken up to parents, right, for domestic violence every day, going to home to get raped and bashed and become special prostitutes later. They've been paying out for 23 years for mind control. We exposed the mind control in 1997 that caused their biggest adverse effects in 1999, the 27th September, where you were told your parents are crazy and they lost their 6th sense in a 6 mass extinction, going into 6 mass extinction for the 6th time. Okay, the world is crazy and under mind control. Okay, go read the 15,500 documents, how the Rockefellers designed this with a secret covenant, and the graphene oxide from it's in drug delivery systems. If you look at the vaccination with graphene oxide, right, it's patent as an electronic magnetic device. And as Harari says from the Fourth Industrial Revolution, we can remember COVID-19 as a time we went under the skin with surveillance. The same particle, spike protein, was in COVID as well. That's why I'm urging you to watch this video I put in this post with Dr. Brian Ardis. Listen to this video very carefully for an hour and 12 minutes. And understand this, in Australia 2 years ago, okay, the Australian newspaper put out a magazine this thick about Fauci and about the whole COVID acts, right, about the greatest deception ever created. A person already identified that and wrote a book in Australia 4 years ago about this. And the Australian newspaper, number one newspaper, put an article out with a magazine this thick in their most popular newspaper in Australia. And do you know, 90% of Australians avoided it. That's how brain dead they are, because they're under mind control. We proved that in 1997. No one believes in it. The barcode system that you're engineered into a program engineered situation, has had you under mind control for a long time. And 99% of people are in denial about it because they can't think outside the mind. They can only 7 to 15% of the brain. Some can mastermind use 100%. You can see that in the movie Limitless with the same drug, with the right barcode. Because we developed the most powerful drug in the world, the most powerful enlightenment drug, true serum, and love drug in the world that brought down the highest dead time, Hecky, Keelan, bonds, and mesmerized for 30 years. That caused the Royal Commission paying out for 23 years. The stolen bacterial apology, which the World Bank is paying out $250 billion for today. Biggest mental health research ever conducted in global history, and DNA studies done. And we found the cure of the human condition is going to save humanity with every single thing going on. But people live in denial about this and don't even care because they're under mind control. And we can prove today that 98.7% of the population, considering Americans, right, live in so much denial with heredity defective genes, and they have 600 to 6,000 defective genes with mind control. And because they live in denial about it, so badly declared in 2003 that they're a species in denial, today their kids, 77% are born with chronic diseases under mind control. Because they can't use their biological fields with their natural organic molecules and the natural cells is not in a natural order. Their 24th chromosomes in dormancy, right? 85 to 93% of the brain in dormancy. They have 32 senses like mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, booming, clockwinding, folding space and time with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. You know, they can think dimensionally, right, with multiple perceptions, but they can't. They're living narratives trapped inside their mind with IQ, with atheism, and evolution mutation with grammar and artificial intelligence. And that's what they've got into and engineered to, right, by the Rockefellers 300 years ago under the Secret Covenant. 120 years ago, the Rockefellers put in a faith document to invert the placebo effect under mind control. In 1920, they could make 16% of people kill. They found that out with a true serum, right? Okay, in 1895, which was methamphetamine, when they created kamikaze, the most evil squad in the world, willing to take their own life to take yours. Okay, Hitler could make 48% of people killed by 1945 and brought out the happy pill. And as you can see what Robert Kennedy says, right, and this is from the 60s, because it's disclosed by the military governments, okay, when they control radio waves, okay, the way that they've done, right, think about this. Orson Welles knew that with War of the Worlds in New York. Hitler used a radar system. The first empire killing people used radio waves and electronic magnetic device to make them do what they do without any guilt factor, which was mind control for their consciousness. So they're not aware of what they're doing because they can't think instinctively. They only think mentally and psychologically with mentality in their consciousness. Developed by the Rockefellers in 1640 into the conscious singularity, which is only mental, without moral guilt and shame because they can't think instinctively. As a result from this, they can make 16% of people kill, right, in 1920. And if you listen to me carefully, that Hitler brought out a radar system and brought out drugs, right, MK and MBK ultra, methylbenzoketone, drugs, mind control weapons, with electronic magnetic device with a radar system. And they had little CERN machines to control the radar systems in different countries in the world. And he could make 48% of people kill with the radar, the new radio waves, especially the new radar systems and the new drug. So he put the whole world on a happy pill, right? And they put up radio waves all over the world, right, with mind control. So people go to work and do what they're told. And people don't believe in it. Well, the whole world was on a happy pill, right? By 1978, more than 85% of the population was on this happy pill. Methamphetamine from ADHD medication, okay? A happy pill worldwide, okay? And people don't believe in it. Well, you better listen to me very carefully. When they brought it the satellite in 1968 was when they could make 68% of people kill, where Robert Kennedy says it's 67, right? Today, they can make 100% of people kill. COVID vaccines, vaccination mandates. Here's the most powerful evidence in the whole world today. 95 to 99% of people were not going to take the vaccination, but on work mandates, 99% of people took it. Now they say they can make 100% of people kill. So what Robert Kennedy talks about is a study back in 1968, where they can make 68% of people kill, or 67, okay, where they rob their consciousness. So Bill Gates opened up the hive with top scientists from NASA, right, and put in people in all over Australia when the deemed should have been dangerous in 1978. So in 1980, right, this is what happened. Bill Gates opens up Google, opens up the Hive, and he has Uncle Fester sitting there teaching people. When they dropped the chemical war bomb in Cambodia and got busted with the chemical warfare, right? And Fester was on trial, supposed to see the electric chair, but didn't. Sits on the Google Hive instead. A great big deception created by NASA and the court system in America. Believe me, I give all the information, a lot of my videos about this. How do I know? Because I know Fester and I know the top CIA members, and I'm number one most wanted in the Star category who took over the whole plan and reversed their plan in Ormo, Brisbane, Australia. Because when they were selling 10 ton amphetamines to Amsterdam, Florida, every month for 40 years straight, on the underground world, everybody's on the drug. Every truckie, everybody's on this happy pill. And we could see that they were getting on the chemist until the deemed should have been dangerous, and then it was on the streets by the truckloads, amphetamine. And when we went right into this, we realised the mind control under ADHD medication, left and right, uppers and downs, how it goes into serotonin with pH level and controls your biofields and biosystems. We first discovered molegolems in 1994 when we made the most powerful truth serum from a plant called Maya, used in the Bible that Moses and Christ used, called bread manna, to bring people back in their primal state when they were robbed inside their consciousness. You know, when they all went to the desert, Moses, right, they all had the human conditioning, the serpents inside their mind, right? They were under mind control by Nimrod, the same as the pharaohs in Egypt, with light, power, and energy, right? And they all had stash bags with methamphetamine, with magic potions, right? The wizards were making. And this was Gilgamesh's plan, because he put everybody in the same mind control, right? With the same product, methamphetamine, with magic potions and mind control with power. And that's what they did in the pyramid days. That's why they all suffered the human condition with the serpent in the mind stuck inside the skull in consciousness. And they went to the desert and they all had mental disorders, judgmental, competitive behavior, and couldn't function in life, wanted to go back to Egypt. So, you know, it took them 40 years to bring them back in the primal state and use bread manna to conduct their sacred secretion with, so they became a loving, compassionate person and could think instinctively again outside the mind, like you see in the movie Limitless. We developed the drug. And they tell you right in front of your face and laugh at your face, and that drug can make you use 100% of your brain with multiple perception with the universal language you can see in the movie Limitless. And we developed that drug in the underground world in Australia, and every testing centre in the Star category that took down the highest death time killing bodies and misbodies in 30 years. And caused the Royal Commission, stolen back generation of polity, right? The biggest male research and DNA study ever done. DNA is a book of life, and we found the truth out with a mind control. And molegolems came out of people's skin when we put the correct product in there, no matter who they were. Molegolems is delusional parasitosis, parasites in over 98.7% of the population with voltage reliability anti-clockwise during the daytime and can only appear at night time. And we can see that in DNA studies done worldwide that everybody's under mind control. 98.87%, their voltage reliability in their aura is anti-clockwise and goes into corruption, corrosion in their body cells during the daytime, and they die prematurely by the time they're 80. Getting young all the time, declared by FDA for evolving non-stop in the 23rd chromosome, right? The dragon seed into the reptilian mind. They cannot think instinctively outside the mind with the 24th chromosome, right? And use all their supernatural power and their God-given gift in their biological genes to master their mind, use 100% of their brain. Because they have amnesia. Worldwide, they have amnesia trapped in their mind. Do not know what they do. They were called out in 1999 and told they were post-humans and the last men being born on earth that can think instinctively outside the mind with the genetic memory and all its ancestral tools were born in 1960. And everybody laughed about and became a species and now trapped even deeper into the screams with psychological behavior. But they haven't got mental telepathy, these people, remote human telekinesis and all these abilities because they lost all their biofields, 27 senses. Now they're losing taste and smell and all these things as well. And we're telling you, there's a lot more to this than you realise. Because drugs have always been used to create super soldiers, but they can't do it organically because they can't create the sacred secretion. Methamphetamine is an electronic magnetic device, right? Okay, and what it does, it goes into mind control. Okay, it can be used as a mind control weapon, or it can also be used, and the most positive is, to give you divine power to command nature. Because it's only a mind manipulation drug that goes into serotonin in your barcode system that activates your Neuralink, the tree of life, or shuts it down. That's why in ADHD medication, it's an upper and downer. Gives you more power or takes it away from you. So you're under mind control. And so easy to see it's not funny with pH level going into serotonin that controls your nucleosomes and your molecules and your barcode system with all your biofields in DNA, the book of life. And so when we went right into this, we realised what they were doing. And then I took over the two top scientists from NASA and reversed their plan, Hitler's plan. Hitler's plan was to put everyone under mind control, which was Gilgamesh's plan, and that's Harari's plan, Hitler's plan. To put everyone under mind control and take out the natural facilities and population material design with AI, alien intelligence, mRNA technology, which is a methamphetamine with mind control. We proved that way back then, and the people didn't listen to us. Well, moral golems came out of your skin when we put the right product in the right barcode, and you became a primordial being to use 100% of your brain in the most positive years. Moral golems came out. So the reason you're parasites with a hostile in your mind, and a mind that tells you what to do all the time, that you believe is Christ consciousness or sounds heavenly in your 5 sense world with the 5D world, which is light powered, deceiving, demonic, with a servant machine that's only a personality that controls the whole world. Everyone's just living in a delusional state worldwide in 98.7% of the population because they're not clockwise in their aura and they cannot think instinctively outside the mind with their natural abilities and natural selection of life. It's because they're not in their natural order. They're post-human transhumans going into a zombie apocalypse reported worldwide with the body snatcher virus you see in the Vine syndromes, right? And the Vine syndromes proves that they've lost all their magnetic fields, all their magnetic pulse, their EMP pulses with in tune to codependent power. And that in tune to codependent power has collapsed, right? From the sixth sense, which is spirituality and the most positive fears, right? Well, you can do what I can do and the more like Christ can, right? And never suffer the consequence of again to tune out of the program, to cross over back in your primal state. So you control your business from the outside and you can see like Keanu Reeves in the movie documentary, right? The Matrix. He controls his business from the outside in. Like you see in the movie Limits, he takes a drug, he comes out of his shell and looks back at himself. And then he gets a clarification and a universal language with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge to think outside the mind and most of the mind and use 100% of his brain. And we developed that drug back in 1994 and proved that the whole world was under mind control and exposed all the documents. And I've got the most powerful document in the world when they disarmed Australia, the Martin Bribey plan, and we took over two top scientists from NASA, right? You can see in the Star Chamber, Corey, where we took over the two top scientists from NASA and went to Sumerian tablets and we created bread manna from the plane called Maya, the most powerful true system in the world that brought people back in the primal state and proved that every single human being on earth is under mind control that can only use 7 to 10% of their brain, right? In 98%, 99%, 1% can only use 15%. We master the mind, use 100%. And believe me, when you use 100%, it's far more advanced when you think outside the mind with the universal language that gives you the God-given gift to command nature that no one has. Principality and the power in the ear. And when you realize this, right, and go back in your primal state organically with your sacred secretion to conduct with, you have the meth effect, right, with MDMA, ecstasy, high as a kite, okay, and you have the supernatural ability with superhuman ability. And when you have that superhuman ability, nothing formed against you can prosper because you have the most powerful aura, the shining armor, right, which is your aura outside that gives you divine power to command nature. And people's got no comprehension of this because they're controlled by 5 sense of negative fears in the opposite effect into the mind with the voice mind that tells them to do that, and they do what they're told. They're under mind control. And I'm telling you now, right, Bill Gates goes right back, right, with this drug to 1980, and I became the biggest mastermind who can predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. Okay, on 7 peer reports by the biggest think tank in the world, and I became the most compromising situation ever dealt with, and the biggest whistleblower in the world. And then I was unlawfully deported at the same time. Now, listen to me. You've got to listen to me carefully and stop fucking avoiding me, right? Because I'm the most powerful supermind and mastermind in the world on their own fucking documents. And they're shit scared of me when I file space and time at international airports that they cannot explain. Okay, they put me in a 747 with 55 officers with body cam and they're shit scared of me. I brought people back to life with peer reports and CCTV and harnessed that kind of power. Many miracles on their own documents. When they put direction microphones on me under surveillance, I could feel the truth and see them stand in the courtroom pen to paper with my name on it. So I had deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. My arresting officers, 40 cops, retired the police force and commends me and stands on my side and courts the advert effects that you see in Australia with the Royal Commission paying out for 23 years, right, for raping kids and bashing kids to go into home to get raped and bashed, right, and becomes prison prostitutes later. And that's what's happening under the UN and NATO with your body cells going corrupt collusion during the daytime and can only be at night time to make dysfunctional people suffer all the time with mental disorder and defects going through the roof from 2% in 1960 to 98% today. And people live in denial. That's why it's 98% because people live in denial. Okay, they live in complete denial worldwide. And that's why 77% of American kids are born with chronic disease and parasites because everybody lives in denial, possessed by an outside influence with an alien invasion as exposed by UAP disclosure. At Pentagon, you have an outside influence that controls the whole world. As they said in Jeremy Griffiths in the biggest DNA study we've done, 95% of people are beyond the point of return because they live in denial, controlled by an outside influence that controls your reality. They can no longer think instinctively. They no longer have the soul power to do the things that I can do and more. So they're all controlled. And the people that run this world, Bill Gates and Fauci and the CIA and the people responsible for this are pure evil. And I proved that in 1997, the Star Jam inquiry. And you didn't listen to me. You never listened to us. You always listen to the voice of mine that tells you to go to work, pay the bills and do what you're told. Well, now 100% it's under mind control because you don't listen. That's why Bill Gates put up all the internet system with all the brand new radio waves and used the satellites worldwide through the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web became the biggest mind control with ADHD medication gone up 36 times. Methamphetamine 1.5 tonne gets used in America every day. And as Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister of Australia, exposed in 2016 worldwide that the government's authorities defend force 80% on meth. With a urine test, and they admitted they're on meth worldwide. Then he gets taken down, right, by Peter Dutton, who was ordered to step down by Chief Justice Jersey in my case, the two most corrupt cases in Australian history in every university. Then he pulls him down, and he goes into Home Affairs and decriminalise the drug, like they're doing in America, because it's mind control. And they're all under mind control by the CIA in MK and MBK Ultra. And I was the one that took over the two-top side from NASA and reversed their plan in 1996 and set the standards by 2000. Then I went to prison for 10 years for corruption. Then I come out, and what happened when I come out 10 years later? The whole world went into methamphetamine, right in deep, so powerful, right into drug delivery system and artificial intelligence with food preservatives, drug delivery systems, and they're all under mind control with the same particle and do not know what they do. They do not know what they do. And I know it's hardcore, but there's only one way out of here, and that's crossing over with the book Freedom by Jeremy Griffiths, The Holy Grail of Life, held by 16,000 top scholars of the world. And that's a selection of natural life with winner breathing programs to recreate the sacred secretion to conduct with your natural sacred secretion. The natural conductor that would take you out of this. Take you right out of your vessel so you're never controlled with mind control in a personality with mentality ever again. And you're free with liberation that you know nothing about. The most powerful liberation in the world is crossing over through the rebirth and going back into primal state in your innocence. And trust me, no weapon from the kitchen can prosper. And that's why I'm telling you right now, the whole world is under mind control and there's only one way out of this, and that's going through the rebirth and the resurrection and the crossover with the book Freedom by Jeremy Griffiths, The Holy Grail of Life, and When I Breathe the Program, The Holy Breath of Life, to recreate the sacred secretion and restore your biological genes, right, with natural selection and natural order, and unlock the genetic memory with your genetic process with the answer to it, coding your own DNA. DNA, the book of life. That's the only way out of here. And the mind doesn't know how to, because the mind's a problem. It's under mind control. The voice of mind plays tricks and games in you, and you become your own worst enemy, and your own warden and your own prison at the same time. And you suffer stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia, and live in a comfort zone. Your body sounds a corrosion losing you in the daytime, and you die prematurely from stress-related diseases, and every human being on earth, and live in denial about it. There's only one way out of this, and it's crossing over, right? And you have to do this biologically, and you have to get out of your mindset with unnatural selection in a 40-day fast. Don't eat, don't go on screens, isolate, take zinc, iron, magnesium, drink lots of liquid, do not eat for 40 days, and get off unnatural selection, get off screens, don't communicate with people, isolate yourself, don't be judgmental or competitive with anybody, just isolate and do win up every day and listen to the book Freedom on audio and go through this in a 40-day test, in a 40-day fast, and I'll lift you right out of your vessel and you'll see the light of the internal that Plato, the greatest philosopher of all time, describes in 15 books. A family tree in the Bible where everyone can do what Christ can and more. One family tree and one bloodline. You think outside the mind, stick your head out the cave. Take the red pill, you can't go back because you wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. And it's a big wow factor. And it's a vortex of information with the universal language to light bulb in you, the picture that tells 1,000 words that come out of the blue. And it's not what you think. It's outside the mind. Think outside the mind, right? You know, Moses and Christ knew this the best. Okay? How to bring people back in their primal state. Right, back in their innocence, right? Back with the celestial primordial being. So they could do everything Christ can and more. And believe me, I know the truth because we can do what Christ can and more. And I've done this to hundreds of people across Australia in the biggest DNA study done that led to the most powerful book on earth. Freedom, the cure of the human condition that will save humanity.